let's shift over into what entrepreneurs can do, and it seems to me that we're seeing this explosion of entrepreneurship, especially just from where we're covering it. Access to capital, I think, has never been better. The price, the cost to start a company has never been lower in the internet space. So, do entrepreneurs need any more incentives? Do you think that is this a good thing that so many new startups are happening? Do we need even more?
Well, we need more, but I think TechCrunch is sort of a tiny slice of the broader national economy. An important slice, but a tiny slice. If you look at the data, actually the number of startups in the last 5 years have gone down 23%. And if it had stayed at the same level, we'd have 2 million more jobs and less of a problem with unemployment. So we actually do need to make sure that not just the social media companies in Silicon Valley, but many other companies in many other sectors in many other regions have access to capital, and some of the regulatory things we talked about would help do that. We also launched, with the support of the White House, an initiative called the Startup America Partnership in January, and you can go to startupamericapartnership.org site to look at that. And there's two key parts. One is aggregating resources from significant companies to help the next generation of entrepreneurs start up or scale up their companies, and the second is building up the regional ecosystems all around the nation. Obviously, everybody understands Silicon Valley is a special place. We want to create other ecosystems in other parts of the country, and a lot of interesting things are happening in these regions, but they have not been linked together in a networked model, and so that's the second part. Even today we launched a startup Florida, for example. So it's how do you build up the ecosystems at these regional levels so that it's more company formation and more resources in terms of mentoring and angel funding and so forth to get these companies
have more
off
of a critical
the ground.
mass where
Exactly,
these things
critical
happen.
mass. And it's really building on things that already exist, but connecting them together and building more of a tissue between these organizations.
So let me ask you about, you're an investor, and you've invested in a lot of companies that started some through Revolution. You're an investor in Living Social.
Right.
You're an investor in Zipcar.
Right.
In generally, I think there was an Atlantic article sort of talking about how you're investing in the sharing economy.
Right.
Is that your? Are you consciously investing in that, or is that just sort of retrospectively that's what happened?
No, it's a little bit of both. But we do believe there's something fundamental happening in terms of people, particularly the millennial generation that's emerging, shifting away from ownership to use and experience. And we saw that with Zipcar and car sharing, and we saw that with exclusive resorts in a hospitality area. And I think that will continue to develop. But more broadly, I think of it also as sort of the second internet revolution. Obviously, I was involved in the first internet revolution. We started AOL over 25 years ago in 1985, and really tried to make the internet part of everyday life and get people to understand why it's important, get them connected, and get modems built into PCs, and get services developed and so forth. And I think we largely achieved that. The work of a lot of companies really made the internet part of everyday life, and now people are using it increasingly ubiquitously across multiple devices. So we've connected people together. Now the question is, how do you take that and try to transform other aspects of people's lives? And the things that we're interested in Revolution really are around those companies. Even Zipcar is a car sharing business, and there's a physical car involved, but it's really only possible because of the ubiquity and now the mobility of the internet. So launching other companies that really can impact people's lives, whether it be in financial services or education or healthcare or things like that, is also a key area of focus.
And how much do you think that these other industries that have yet to really be open up to kind of the disruptions we've seen, on the internet, how much of that is now possible because of just post-PC devices, because of mobile devices? I mean, a lot of these things are because you're walking around and you have this information at your fingertips, as opposed to when the internet 1.0 was all in the browser, it was all on your desktop.
Well, that's true, and obviously it's happening in a lot of different sectors, but there are some areas, including what we talked about, education, healthcare, for example, where there's actually been some structural impediments that make it more difficult to do that. In the case of healthcare, it's really controlled by the payers, not by consumers, and that over time will shift. I think there'll be more consumerism, more use of technology to create more transparency in terms of options, whether it be how you stay healthy or how you manage chronic disease or how you deal with life-threatening disease. And I think there are also a lot of things around the fringes around education that are interesting, and over time we'll be able to attack the the core there. So there's some segments that are laggards, and some of that is because of some structural issues that make it more difficult for entrepreneurs to connect directly to consumers and have that kind of almost overnight impact.